From the beginning of time, man has always had a pursuit of the best quality of life possible. That quality of life is not possible without resources. The form of resources we have accumulated has changed over time from cowrie shells, state-controlled money, precious metals, real estate, and stocks and bonds. Over the past 100 years, the world has been dominated by the US dollar and its reserves. But everything that has a beginning also has an end. A new financial revolution is upon us with the emergence of a digital economy. The way we earn, spend, and accumulate resources is fundamentally changing. A new asset has appeared that the wealthy have overlooked. Bitcoin has become the best performing asset of the past decade by far. With only 21 million ever in existence, there are more millionaires and billionaires in the world today than there are Bitcoin. Just by holding 0.25 Bitcoin today will put you in the top 1% asset holders in the world in the next 5 to 10 years. If you had invested $100,000 in Bitcoin in 2013, today it will be worth more than $15 million. Bitcoin billionaire Raoul Pal says, Bitcoin's performance is so dominant and so all-encompassing that it is going to suck in every single asset narrative dry and spit it out. Never before in my career have I seen a trade so dominant that holding any other assets makes almost no sense. This is not an industry you can afford to ignore. If you want to remain in business, then you must adapt. Are you offering services in Bitcoin? Are you accepting payments with digital currencies? Have you adopted blockchain technology? Blockbuster Video at one point was the most dominant video service in the world. They had the opportunity to be part of Netflix, but they ignored the changing technology. Where is Blockbuster today? Where will you be tomorrow? All right. Good evening, everybody. I know it's been a while since I've done a late night crypto talk, maybe a couple of weeks. So welcome. Go ahead and type your name in the chat box where you're listening in from. And as a disclaimer, I am not a licensed financial advisor to be giving financial advice. I read the news, give my opinion, share suggestion, and it is up to you to make an informed, intelligent decision on which direction you want to move into. I see Teresa Carlson, Marnita, and Janelle and Faye. Good evening. We are streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Now, I have been in the lab all day. When I say I've been in the lab, that means I've been in creative mode. What I'm doing right now, I haven't done in 2.5 years or more, and that is creating new educational content. For the last couple of years, I've had 45 videos with Bitcoin 101, Crypto Advanced, how to trade Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And now I am more than doubling that. We've got topics that's going to have at least about 15 videos each in DeFi, Internet of Things, DeFi, Internet of Things, NFTs, Metaverse, and smart cities, although I might combine that smart cities into something else, dealing with augmented and virtual reality, but that might even be in Metaverse. And then there's a sixth one that I don't know what order I want to do it, called Web3. And I am taking a break. I am almost finished with writing the lessons for the Internet of Things. Tomorrow I will begin recording audio on top of it, just like you've seen my other videos. And I'm also going to be redoing those first few videos. So for example, if you're in the Ivy League Crypto Academy and you've paid the $9.97, then next week, starting on Tuesday, I will be doing a 2-hour course every Tuesday and Thursday night, taking the videos and doing them live. So you've been listening to the recorded videos, but I'm going to be doing it live, which means I'm going to be adding more content, just like we did with the 5-day challenge. You'll be able to ask questions, hold your hand on certain things, but I'm upgrading those videos also. So you might see different slides on the same topics of what you see in the videos. And then I'm going to be going back and we're going to be re-uploading new updated videos. So don't think, well, Brandon, I've seen your stuff before. No, not like this. You haven't seen this. You saw it from 2-3 years ago, but everything is going to be brand new. So I'm excited about this. I mean, this is the time where I only need to do it once, but I haven't done this in years. So I'm taking a break tonight to cover a topic, since one of the lessons I want to create is called Web3. There's an article about Web3. So let me go ahead and share a screen. I see good evening, Justice, and Van Hairston, Teresa Carlson. Good evening, good evening. So let me share a screen. First, let's take a look at the crypto market. I did crypto talk today for the iLearning crypto community. And I said that if Bitcoin cannot pass that $45,000, $46,000 range and it keeps bouncing down, then I expect it to get back down to 35,000. So earlier today, it was up. It's down 2.6%. It's down to 43,000. So I'm going to be watching this closely. It's still up 16% in the last 7 days. Ethereum also. Ethereum is up 14.6%. But I did make a note to today's the 10th. I made a note to keep increasing Bitcoin and Ethereum in my main portfolios. This morning we bought Tezos and we bought Atom this morning to increase that secondary portfolio. The market cap is sitting at 1.2 trillion. Why did they do this? This is interesting. Why did they do the numbers like this? Let me refresh. Was that a fluke? Yeah, okay. So we're at 2 trillion. It is down 3.2% since this morning. Bitcoin dominance was at 40%. It's now at 39.8%. So the market seemed to have a reversal, but stabilized within the past hour. It's kind of flatline right now. So I'll be doing early morning crypto talk tomorrow to see where this is at. I'm curious about this number. Can it bounce back up to the 44, 45K, or will it continue to slide down? All right. The article that I'm going to cover is this one. Internet guru Tim O'Reilly on Web3. Get ready for the crash. Now, like always, I have not read this article yet. I know I sent it to Marnita, and I think she already did read it. But the title itself got my attention. And who sent me this one was my CMO. Sent me this article. And if he found it interesting. So I'm going to read it, since I am going to be researching more on just Web3 and creating a lesson on this. So I am in learning mode right now, and I'm going to take you guys with me as I'm learning more about this. But this caught my attention. Get ready for the crash. The crash. What do you mean by get ready? What crash? The stock market crash? The crypto crash? What are you talking about, Tim? So let's see. Web3, that's touted as the next evolutionary stage of the internet. Businesses and investors are eagerly hopping on the bandwagon. Tech giants, including Alphabet, Facebook owner Meta, and Microsoft, are staking their claim in the emerging blockchain-based economy. Some non-fungible token companies are already valued in the billions, and cryptocurrency trading platforms are experiencing hockey stick-like growth. Okay, stop right there. Whenever I tell my story, I always say one of the things that changed my life is when I realized that blockchain technology is going to disrupt every single industry on the planet today, whether you like it or not, believe it or not, understand it or not, or even want to be involved in it or not. Your opinion is irrelevant. But I'm adding something nuanced to that whenever I say that. it is also going to create new industries that we've never even heard of yet. That's what the internet did. When the internet came on board, you look at the biggest companies today, they either came through the internet era or they are heavily involved with the internet. In fact, there is no business in the world today that is surviving and being able to have big profit without the internet. Everybody's got a website. So in the future, if you look at every company that's out there right now, if they want to survive the future, if they want to be able to move into the next era, they have to adopt, one way or another, blockchain technology, or they will go the way of Blockbuster Video. That is a fact. That is why I say it will disrupt every single industry. And it's going to create new ones. 5 years ago, how many of you ever heard of NFTs? Hell, most of you barely heard about Bitcoin. And now we have billion-dollar companies in NFTs in the last 2 years. The biggest companies the world has ever seen are being created right now. Okay? That's why I'm in this space. Forget everything else going on out there. If you're looking at legacy for your family and your future and you are not taking this serious, I can only predict where you're going to be in the next 10 years. Let's continue. The cut through the hype. CBS Money Watch spoke with tech luminary Tim O'Reilly, who, among other things, in his long career is known for publishing the world's first website and coining the term Web 2.0. Although he thinks the technology behind Web3 is promising, it's a long way from prime time, he said. Let me stop right there. Okay. When people say, am I too late on Bitcoin and crypto? Because, I mean, we're in the year 2022, and Bitcoin came out in 2009. So you might think, man, I'm late on this. No, you're not. Where we are with blockchain technology is where the internet was in 1995. So if you can go back to 1995, I remember it like it was yesterday. I was a freshman going to be a sophomore at Morehouse College at that time. I was 17 going on 18. 94. Yeah. I was 17 going on 18 in 1995. So it's like yesterday to me. Man, am I that old? I'm 45 now. Good grief. But anyways, most people weren't on the internet in 1995. I remember we had our home computer. I think we had AOL dial-up in 95. I think we had just got it. My brother was a junior in high school at that time. So when I was away at college, I didn't have a computer when I went to college. I didn't get my computer in college until 97, I think it was. We had to go down to the computer lab, back in those days. So that is where blockchain is right now. So think of the technology of the internet. Remember, if you wanted to load up a website, it went deep, deep, deep. It took forever just to load up one page. Yes, Sheila, you're right. Hang up the phone, I'm online. You call somebody and you get that busy tone, you know they're on the internet. We thought we were fancy because my dad had two lines. He had one line, he had an office, and in his office he had a fax machine. So the fax machine had a separate line. So we would hook up the internet to the fax machine so that we could still make phone calls, or the fax machine phone line. So we could make phone calls while we're on the internet. We thought we was doing good back in those days. But that's where the blockchain is right now. You haven't seen nothing yet. There's already technology where the blockchain is going to be like high-speed internet, how we view the internet today. But we're still years off from that. And that's what he's saying here. Now, I might be wrong. I'm going to keep reading to see if he says something different. But although he thinks the technology behind Web3 is promising, But here's what's interesting. He says a long way from prime time. At what point do we consider the internet being prime time? What year would you guys consider that? I look at it as stages based on business. We have MySpace, Yahoo, that version of the internet. Then we have Blockbuster Video. Then we have Netflix, Facebook, Google. That's a different version of the internet, right? Different eras. Blockchain right now is still in the Blockbuster, Yahoo, and MySpace era for the internet. But how long will it take to get to the other side? I would probably say the internet got really modern. What year? 2011, 2010? Maybe 2010, 2011, when we started to really see high speed. You know what I even did right now? And this is the next evolution in my family. Today, I got rid of my cable boxes. Cable boxes. Now, I remember when my family first got our first cable box, it was 1985, I think. No, I was living in Walnut. 84, 83 or 84. We got our first cable box. So since then, I've always had a cable box with all our TVs. And then we realized that with the smart TVs today, my cable company allows us to have an app. And the app, you can watch, we have Spectrum. And we can watch all of our cable channels on our app. So I have the app on my phone. I have it on my computers. I have it on. So when I moved here, I've got 5 TVs, then monitors, dang, screens, I don't know, 15 or so. And I can have the app on all of them. So I can watch TV the same as a cable box and streaming it. And at first I didn't believe in it too much because I always thought, well, if it buffers, I don't want to be watching my show and it's buffering and I'm skipping all over the place. But now the speed is so well, there is no buffer. In fact, it's better quality watching TV through streaming service than it is watching through the cable box. So I'm like, why am I paying this extra money for these cable boxes? So I unplugged them all and took them back to the cable spot. And now I have everything's on streaming. Plus I have Fire Stick and I have other versions of TV. Some of you will get what I'm talking about, where I got every single movie ever that has ever come out, every TV show that's ever came out that I can watch at my fingertips. So I don't need the cable box. So I lowered my cable bill because all I need is the internet. And we're good. So he says we're still a long way away from that for Web3. Let's continue. Dan Patterson, it's very hard to convince somebody of a thing when financial gains depend on them believing in it, says tech luminary Tim OReilly, the publisher who coined the phrase Web 2.0 of Web3 products like cryptocurrencies and NFTs. I'm going to read that again. He says, it's very hard to convince somebody of a thing when financial gains depend on them believing in it. Okay, so in other words, he's saying that unless somebody sees them making money off of it right now, they're not going to believe in it. They still will think cash is king. You got to be a visionary. You got to think ahead. I consider myself a visionary that came on this late because I had an opportunity to get all on this in 2014, and I poo-pooed it. I shut it down. I was like, that's nothing. That's nothing about it. It was even worse in 2012. But it wasn't until 2017 where the light bulb went off in my head. And I literally did a course correction on my entire life. And now I am passionate about this. Let me rephrase that. I am passionate about teaching and sharing. I've only chosen to put my passion on this platform. Does that make sense? Because I think some people haven't figured that part out yet. When I say blockchain technology is going to disrupt every single industry, then you have to ask yourself, what am I currently passionate about? What do I do for a living? Whatever you're doing for a living right now, whatever you're passionate about right now, eventually is going to be blockchain based. So you can continue whatever you're passionate about in this space. So no, I'm not passionate about blockchain and cryptocurrencies. I'm passionate about teaching. I'm passionate about personal development. I'm passionate about building a legacy for my family. What my ultimate goal is hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is the vehicle I'm riding on to make that happen. Again, does that make sense? A lot of people aren't going to get that until later. I'll use another example. A couple in Georgia knew nothing about Bitcoin, blockchain, cryptocurrencies. They have a farm raising ducks. Their farm was about to go into foreclosure. They had no way out. And then they said, wait a minute, this thing called NFTs is blowing up. And they took their passion of ducks and created NFTs off of them. Then they took those NFTs and sold them and raised $120,000 in 6 hours and saved their farm. Are they passionate about NFTs? Are they passionate about blockchain? Are they passionate about crypto? No. They're passionate about their farm and their ducks. And they just took that on a platform that's generating unfathomable wealth. So whatever your passion is, you can move it onto the blockchain, because if you don't do it yourself, you will be forced to later if you're being employed by somebody. So I hope that's really making sense, because I had to have that mind shift for me, and I had to correct myself, because I was talking, I'm like, oh, you really love this crypto and blockchain stuff. And actually, no, that's not I'm not an engineer. I'm not a NASA scientist. I don't understand the math. And look at my crypto education. It's pop-up book style. It's pop-up. You know what? I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek. Because I'm creating right now what, come on up. I'm finishing this one up right here. Internet of Things in the healthcare. This is pop-up book style stuff. This is not difficult. This is not rocket science. I keep it simple. I just know how to teach this. That's my passion. Teaching. Okay. Indeed, the hubbub around cryptocurrency, NFTs, and the metaverse. Now, this one, oh, metaverse, gaming. Oh, I'm going to be all on this. That I will be passionate about. I'm very passionate about gaming. I've been gaming since I was 2 years old. Well, my grandpa had my first ColecoVision and then Atari system. My earliest memory, I don't remember what year it was, but I was told it was 1979. I was 2.5 years old. My earliest memory was I remember being so excited to go to my grandpa's house because he had game, and he had this controller, and it was a big controller with a round thing on it and buttons like a big telephone. And that's my earliest memory. Video games. So I've been doing that all my life, and I will continue to do it to the day I die. I wish I was 20 years younger, living where we are today, to see where technology is going to go over the next 50 years. with gaming. There's a new, I just got PlayStation 5, right? I haven't even unboxed it yet because it's going to distract me. But there's a new game on there that you can play for free called the next Matrix Resurrection or something like that. And I got, where's, I used to play this game right here. See this? Matrix Online. I was stuck on this Matrix Online game. It's a MMO. It stands for Massive Multiplayer Online Gaming, where it's not you and 5 people. It's you and hundreds and thousands of people in the game at the same time in one big virtual world. So I love the whole Matrix trilogy, not the last movie, but the first 3. And we were in the world and we can create an avatar of ourselves. So I created a dude that looked like me. And we could create what we call clans, guilds, in other words. And I was a leader of mine, and mine had, at our height, more than 400 something members. And I was a leader of it. And there was always these, what they call in-game events, because it's live. It never shuts down. It's on 24/7. The city was so big that if you were to walk your character from one end to the other, it would take, I don't know, maybe 2 hours. So you would either do what's called hyper jump, you know how Neo could fly, or do super jumps over buildings, or you would use payphones to literally like transport yourself to different sections. And there was a section of the city that was just my group. We had our own buildings, we had our own club, literally, and it's our own characters. They had in-game marriages, in-game fighting. It's so a whole social network. I got so big in that I was even featured on their TV shows and Comic-Con, stuff like that. My character, and I had to pull myself out of that because it took over my life. You know, I'm working a 9-to-5 job, but my real life was more in that game than it was in the real world. And I'm like, if I can have this type of success in this game, what can I do if I put that same effort in real life? I had to unplug myself from it. But there's new technology where the graphics, if you've ever played Grand Theft Auto, for example, where you got a whole big city you can walk around, run around, drive around in, it is nothing. That has nothing compared to this Matrix. So as soon as I unbox my PS5, I'm going to load that up and I'm going to play with it in the whole city. You can find it on YouTube. But that's nothing compared to the metaverse. And you put this thing on, and now you are actually in the game, like Ready Player One. You're not just doing it on your laptop or your PC. You are in the game, Ready Player One style. That's where this is. And this is what he calls Web3. But it's more than just gaming. You have to look at all applications of life. Remote learning from school. Kids, because of stupid COVID, kids, that if there's some other real or manufactured pandemic that comes out, we don't know what Bill Gates and his crazy team's going to, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. But if they try to lock everybody down again, the kids can't go to school, and they do it virtually, where the kid actually is sitting in the classroom and his friends is right next to him in this virtual classroom. I'm in talks right now to put my Ivy League Crypto Academy in the metaverse. In the metaverse. So can you imagine that? Me doing late night crypto talk from my, I have a VIA. Me doing my late night crypto talk from the VIA. Euphoria.io. I did a late night crypto talk on this, and I'm probably soon, I'm going to have the CEO behind this project. I'm probably going to have him on a late night crypto talk. But I got a VIA on this. Now, what if I say one night, yeah, I'm doing a late night crypto talk, meet me in my VIA? Say, what? Your VIA? Yeah, we sit around, we can see each other. things like that. Or go to my Ivy League Crypto Academy University building and get your education on. And you see how the walls are here? And on the walls, you see Bitcoin 101, Crypto Advanced, Metaverse. And you just click on it, and it takes you to the next thing. And you're learning in the Metaverse. Or like this. Oh, I'm getting this. You see that on that desk? I'm getting that in my office too. Big ass, wrapped, curved screen. Anyways, let me get out of this. Yeah, this is something I am actually passionate about. The Metaverse and where this is going. All right. Next is, let's see. Okay. The hubbub around cryptocurrency, NFTs, and the metaverse, including sky-high valuations for startups, has a familiar ring to OReilly, who sees echoes of the dot-com boom and bust. Okay, I think I know where he's going with this. In the breathless boosterism around blockchain. Get ready for the crash, he said bluntly of the grandest claims made for Web3. The interview is lightly edited for clarity and brevity. Where do you put Web3 on a development timeline relative to historic computing breakthroughs? Tim O'Reilly says, as a metaphor, I personally put Web3 in about 1983. Wow. Are you serious? See, I said 1995. He says 1983? Okay, hold up. I'm 45. I got to wait another 20 years before it gets to that? Is that what you're talking about? Before it realizes where the internet is today? Okay, hold on. This has been my impression for some time. In a lot of ways, before the dot-com bust back in the days when we had FTP and Telenet, before the web actually was introduced, we've had this incredible valuation bubble on a technology that's really not ready for prime time. With the dot-com bust, the web arrived and it really exploded. Do you guys remember the dot-com bust? What happened there? 99, 2000, 2001. Where all of these fake-ass companies where the programmer, and in those days, not anybody knew how to program and create a website. Now, I mean, a 5-year-old kid can create their own website. But back then, not everybody could do that. So if you had some crazy idea, put a website together, a Fortune 500 company would buy it from you for $50 million, and there's no real-world application to it yet. It hasn't proven itself. It's all on potential. And then at some point, that whole bubble burst. And all those fake companies crashed, and only a few survived. That created the web as we know it today, Web 2.0. Same thing is going to happen in blockchain. There's going to come a point where the bubble's going to burst. And this right here, 12,526 coins, the vast majority of them are going to disappear almost overnight. Now, they're not going to be, when I say disappear, that means the value is going to go to zero almost overnight. This is why you got to have a short-term strategy and a long-term strategy. Most of my altcoins, I do not have a long-term strategy on. I have short-term strategies on them. As soon as they go up 10,000%, 6,000%, 2,000%, I'm selling and then buying my main portfolio tokens that I think are long-term, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, and so forth. So that goes with strategy. Okay. So let me continue. With the dot-com bust, the web arrived and it really exploded. Things really became possible that hadn't been possible before. By 95, you were seeing really significant innovations in media, and you're starting to see innovations in e-commerce with Amazon. The capabilities that you could already see unfolding were quite large. So it took 12 years from 83 to 95. Okay. In the case of blockchain, it's so much obscured by the speculative value of cryptocurrencies, which are just basically a speculative asset. Interesting. So just from that sentence there, he is a guy that is more blockchain than crypto. In fact, he really doesn't care about crypto. He's looking at the technology blockchain. We covered this on day 5 in the 5-day challenge, where we talk about the path to becoming a crypto billionaire. That's not going to happen based on cryptocurrency coins and tokens. That's going to happen from you investing in projects that are building themselves on the blockchain, and you're getting in on the early stage, like getting in on an Amazon or an Alibaba or a Facebook or a Twitter or a TikTok. You get involved in those type of businesses that's just getting started, and you're investing in them early on. I shared that I do have an ultimate goal of having a $10 million investment firm where its only job is to invest in up and coming businesses on the blockchain. 100,000 on this company, $250,000 on that company, $500,000 on that company. Most of them probably aren't going to go anywhere, but I only need 1 or 2 of them to hit, because that $200,000 can be flipped into $500 million if that company takes off. So that he's far more on the blockchain side than the crypto side. Is all the money pouring into blockchain and Web3 a bubble? Tim O'Reilly. I think there's a lot that's interesting about the blockchain in theory. But when you really scratch, an awful lot of technical people have said, hey, there's not a lot there. Now, that was also a response that many people had to the World Wide Web. Hey, you might want to know something funny. Go to your kid and ask them this question just out of the blue. What does www stand for? What? See, our kids grew up on the internet. That's all they know. But I bet you 9 times out of 10, they're going to have to think about that. www. So yeah, like www.facebook.com. What does www stand for? Can they answer World Wide Web? You know what? I want to have a quick test here. I'm gonna mess with my kid. Yeah, I'm gonna call him. He's gonna be like, what? I'm gonna call him on speakerphone. I'm gonna ask him this question. First, he better answer. Let's see. This is my 14-year-old.
Hello?
Donovan.
Yeah?
What does www stand for?
World Wide Web?
Oh, snap. Okay. All right. Bye-bye. Okay, my kid, is it maybe I was wrong. Maybe they do know what that stands for. Let me ask my other son. Hold on. Does he know what it stands for? Call Chris. We're going to go 2 for 2. The 14-year-old got it right away without even thinking. And this one's not going to answer. Chris.
Yes.
What does www stand for?
World Wide Web.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Wow. Is it because they're exceptional? I don't know. They got it. Whose Facebook user says, honey, there are kids? What is that? Is that my wife listening? Whose Facebook user? I don't know. It's popped up Facebook user. So I don't know who typed that. Yeah, they grew up on computers, but sometimes when you grow up with technology, you don't know how the technology actually works. All right. Let's continue here. Tim O'Reilly continues. Now, that was that. So yeah, my wife is listening. Go figure. So he says, let's see, is there money in that? I think there's a lot of interesting things about the blockchain in theory, but when you really scratch, an awful lot of the technical people have said, hey, there's not a lot there. Now, that was also a response many people had in the World Wide Web. To existing software developers of the day, it seemed trivial. So even though the technology is slow and very expensive, and it's hard to use distributed databases, there's a lot of investment pouring into the space, and people are trying to figure out actual things that might actually be useful. And I think that it is certainly possible. Web3 is attributed to the idea that there's going to be a new decentralized web based on cryptography and the blockchain. I defined this term Web 2.0 17 years ago. And my whole point was that Web 2.0 was the second coming of the web after the dot-com bust. That's how I defined it. When people ask me about Web 3, I say the same thing. We won't know what Web 3 is until after the current bubble pops, because we're in the middle of a bubble, just like the dot-com bubble, where there are all kinds of crazy startups getting outrageous valuations with less to show for it. Interesting. I agree with that. What's the difference between blockchain tech, cryptocurrency, and NFTs? Can you guys answer that question? You've gone through my crypto education. If you have, you should be able to answer that question. Blockchain tech, cryptocurrency, and NFTs. You should be able to answer that. Let's see what Tim says. In the case of blockchain, it's so obscured by the speculative value of cryptocurrencies, which are just basically a speculative asset. They're not intrinsically valuable or useful. I disagree with that part. And then you kind of get this layer of NFTs, which are that, only more so. They don't even actually have a technical foundation. They're not even fully part of the blockchain. You look at OpenSea, the largest NFT marketplace, and it has 600,000 users. Well, on that, if you go back in the day, the largest was, what was it? What was that service that crashed? It was before I became in crypto, and it's on the tip of my tongue. What was it called? It'll come back to me. I'm looking right at it too. Good grief. It'll come back to me. Anyways, that's not what parts that's important to me. What he says about that OpenSea. OpenSea can be just the first, just like Yahoo was before Google, or MySpace before Facebook. When I'm not thinking about it, the name's going to come to me because I'm looking right at it. All the articles. I did a lesson on this. Silk Road. That's what it is. Silk Road. Silk Road was the first. Wasn't the last. So OpenSea can be the first, like Silk Road. But I don't agree with what he's saying here about there's no intrinsic value or useful asset for crypto. I don't agree with that. But then he says they don't even have a technical foundation, and they're not even fully part of the blockchain. And there's a link to this. What is this? My first impressions of Web3. By who? Who wrote this? Who wrote this? Is this Tim? This is definitely something I'm going to read. Despite considering myself a cryptographer, I have not found myself particularly drawn to crypto. I don't even think I ever actually said the words "get off my lawn," but I'm much more likely to click on Pepperidge Farm Remembers flavored memes about how crypto used to be in cryptography than I am the latest NFT drop. This might be Tim. And he just admitted it. He says, I'm a cryptographer, but I'm not drawn to crypto. I don't know who wrote this, but I'm going to save this. This is for later reading. Okay. Moxie.org. Very interesting. By the time the web got to these kinds of valuations, we were talking about hundreds of millions of users. So I believe that it really is a pretty serious speculative bubble on a very small foundation. That being said, once you get those bubble valuations, it does attract a lot of capital and talent, and people may start really building something on top of it. Shelly says you want to read it? Let me put this article, the link in the chat box. Oh, this is only going to post it on the YouTube. People can see it. Well, that's the link. So if you guys could copy that down while I'll leave it up there for a couple of minutes. So by the time the web got to these kind of valuations, we were talking about hundreds of millions of users. So OpenSea only has 600,000. So I believe that it really is a pretty serious speculative bubble on a very small foundation. That being said, once you get those bubble valuations, it does attract a lot of capital and talent. And people may start really building something on top of it. With cryptocurrency, you just have to think about that as gambling. I don't agree with that. You're at the racetrack and there's some horse that you think is going to come in first. Sometimes you're right, and maybe you'll make a bunch of money, but you don't actually think of that as an investment. What's your advice to the most ardent champions of cryptocurrency and NFT, the true believers? And I will explain in a moment why I disagree with what he's saying. There are two categories of true believers in my mind. There are those who, for example, are building a new decentralized, user-empowering financial system. And to them, history teaches us that there will always be new avenues for power to become centralized. In fact, the entire history of the computer industry was radical openness, which led to a lot of innovation, which later led to closing it down. Okay. What he's saying is, ultimately, it doesn't matter the technology. Every new technology since the beginning of time that has been created has ultimately always fallen in the hands of somebody in power. And the power are the ones who control it. And in his thinking, the same is going to be true for cryptocurrencies and even blockchain technology. In some form of that, he is correct in that what the governments and the banks are going to do is create their own version of it, which we will be called CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. They have their own digital money, cashless society, the digital dollar, the Fed coin, but it is controlled by them. Where I disagree is that cryptocurrency itself, by design, cannot be controlled by anybody. It is completely open source. The government, the only way they can shut it down, they'd have to shut off every single internet connection in the world, hack every single computer. What they can do is try to make it difficult for businesses to do business with cryptocurrencies, but they can't stop it. Bill Gates was correct. In 2014, he said, Bitcoin can't be stopped. Which is why I say that this technology It's one of the greatest technologies mankind has ever invented, the blockchain. Bitcoin rides on top of that. Cryptocurrency rides on top of that technology. So in one aspect, he's correct. In another, I believe he's wrong. And that is my opinion. My opinion. And I am not a true believer. I'm only looking at the facts, not what I believe. Okay? There's a difference. For example, IBM released the PC specs. Everybody could build a PC. Michael Dell was a college student and started Dell from his dorm room, which was radical decentralization. And then Microsoft figured out how to re-centralize around software. Later, we have the internet and open source software. And guess what? Along came companies like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Facebook. They figured out how to centralize on top of that foundation. Okay, so he's saying in his mind is there's not an either or. I have always said that Bitcoin is not going to eliminate the US dollar. That they can exist side by side. This is my opinion on the technology. It can exist side by side. It's not one or the other. Centralization and decentralization can operate side by side. He's saying it cannot. That it might start off being decentralized, that the intent was to be open source. But ultimately, greed takes in. Like Michael Dell, Microsoft started it off open source and we make money. Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Facebook. But here's the difference. We don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. We don't know. That's the whole point about this. It is decentralized. It is open source. It doesn't matter who the creator was. Once it's on the blockchain, it's there for everybody. I said this about people that join altcoin launches. And they're so focused on who created it or who promoted it that you missing the point. Once it goes live on the blockchain, it belongs to everybody. It becomes what we make it, not who created it. And I have proof to back up what I say. And my proof is Dogecoin. Dogecoin was created by people that kind of think like Tim. They love the technology of blockchain. They don't believe in cryptocurrency and said that this is nothing but a joke. And they said, watch, we can create some stupid coin and watch all of you guys like Seal come flocking to it. And it's not worth anything. We just made it up. And when Dogecoin came out and it went up, the owners sold everything and made a killing and laughed at the community. And the price came back down. 3 years later, it's still out there. All of a sudden, it went to the moon. Elon Musk and Reddit community and Everest decided, yeah, we want to use that token. The owners could have had multiple billions of worth today had they held on to what they owned. So it doesn't matter about the creator. They're not important. It's open source. It's on the blockchain. So like I said, if I say something, I got to back it up. Why? So I just gave you proof of why I believe how I believe as opposed to Tim. Now let's continue here. So even if you're a true believer in blockchain technology as a power for decentralization, you should look for the next vectors of recentralization. And that's fine. Ripple, for example. Ripple's going to re-centralize. Maybe Ethereum, kind of. A lot of the altcoins going to re-centralize. But the way I see recentralization is not the blockchain now that is out and it's going to re-centralize. It's that governments and banks are going to create their own version of it, but that they control centralized version. That's how I see it. He says, already we see them. Okay, what do you see? Blockchain turned out to be the most rapid recentralization of a decentralized technology that I've seen in my lifetime. It took a decade to recentralize in the case of the PC. It took a decade in the case of the web. But it took only a couple of years with Bitcoin before the majority of value was held by a very small group of people. Interesting. I'm listening. It's kind of like a pyramid scheme. So I believe that if you're a true believer in the technology, look for the ways that your belief will be undermined. Okay, stop right there. What he's saying is, if I'm interpreting this correct, is that since Bitcoin is finite at only 21 million, and it's supposed to be decentralized open source to everybody, but if a small group of people gobble it all up and own the vast majority of it, then it's a Ponzi or a pyramid scheme? If that's the case, then you got to call gold a pyramid scheme and a Ponzi, because there's a very finite amount of gold ever out there. Unless you keep digging in the ground for more gold if you find more gold mines. And the vast majority of the gold is held by a small set of people. The United States government pulled off the biggest theft in human history as far as money, convincing all Americans to turn in their gold for this backed note, the dollar, backed by gold. And then 35 years later, remove it from the gold standard. You keep the note, they keep the gold, but your paper's not worth nothing. Your paper's worth trust of the government. That was the biggest theft that people didn't even realize took place. That happened before I was even born, 1971. When was the last time Fort Knox was audited? If you don't have possession of the gold in your house, you don't own the gold. I'm sorry. I don't care what guarantees people are giving you. If the gold is not in your own vault, you don't own it. So I challenge what he's saying here about that. Let's continue. Maybe I can learn something new. There's a second class of true believer, and that's really the crypto. You know, a believer in the crypto valuations, if they've diversified, maybe they've diversified Dogecoin into some other coin that they hope will pop up in the same way. Whatever you do, don't borrow against the value of your crypto holdings. If you do, you will be seriously underwater. Of what crypto holdings, Tim? Because there are lending services out there that allow you to borrow against your assets. Like if you want to go get a loan from the bank, let's say you want $10,000 loan, but your credit's not very good. And they say, what asset can you put up? Like your car, the value of your car. So in the real financial world, they look at, you can put assets up, whether it's your house, real estate, your car, stuff like that. But you can also put up like gold or precious metals, maybe even art that has a value to it. Well, now because crypto is getting so big, people are now getting loans based on their crypto holdings. And what he's saying is if you do that and the entire crypto market goes to zero, you're going to be underwater. But I disagree that that's going to happen or stay like that, because people are now looking at digital money as digital, or Bitcoin for that matter, as digital gold. It's a store of value, not to go to the grocery store to buy milk. And the ship has already set sail. There ain't no putting the genie back in the bottle. Again, this is what I personally are believing based on my education and my observation. Doesn't mean I'm right. I just have a different view on this than Tim does. And I will tell you, Tim knows the science and technology behind blockchain far more than I do. He knows this space better than me. I can admit that. But I still see it differently than he does on this. Let's keep going. You will not just lose your imagined fortune, you will be bankrupt in the real world. What's the real world, Tim? The metaverse is going to end up being more real for people than their real life. See, when you understand how the mind works, the mind doesn't know fake from real. The mind only knows what you tell it to know. It's the law of the universe. It doesn't understand negatives. It doesn't understand sensory deprivation. So if somebody is living in a goggled world, to your mind, that is reality. That's metaphysics. That's whole other rabbit hole to go down. So I would love to debate with him and be on stage about this, because I can go toe to toe. So the real world. You will not just lose your imagined fortune, you will be bankrupt in the real world. The financial innovation of being able to borrow against your crypto, boy, that's a really bad thing for a lot of people. I disagree. How long until the metaverse, which as it's currently envisioned, is basically a massive virtual reality social network ready for prime time? The metaverse itself is full of bubble hype. Wrong. Oh, I disagree with that. The Meta Quest 2, yeah, they're selling a bunch of them, but the technology is a long way from prime time. If you were to compare this to where the web was before it became super useful, we're a long way from that. I think metaverse is probably a decade or more away from being really useful. I disagree with that. And even then, how much time will people spend in this VR online space? All their time. Okay, I'm going to back it up with proof. When the television was created, the generation that grew up before there was no television did not necessarily like the television. They called it the box, dumb box, or the stupid box, because they said, how much time is people going to be sitting in front of this box? And at the time, they were like, nobody's going to be sitting for hours in front of the box. I'm old enough to remember when there was no 24/7 TV. I remember being at my grandpa's house, and he used to watch MASH. And I think after MASH, there might have been some news, and then the screen would go, dee, and you had the bright little colors down, and it would stay that way. That's when you turn the TV off. And I remember because we would sleep in my grandpa's room, and we would turn the TV off because he'd fall asleep before it was over. And then in the morning, if we didn't turn it off, all of a sudden the screen would go like a countdown clock. You guys remember that? The countdown clock, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then the first thing up is the news that starts the day, like at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. So between 12 p.m. and 5 a.m., there was no TV. Thank you, Janelle, the idiot box. Now, how much time do people spend in front of their TV? And I'm going to take it further. And I would ask Tim this because he knows better. I'm not even talking about TV. Let's talk about screens. How many hours a day do people spend in front of a screen? And a screen could be the TV. It could be their laptop. Oh, damn it. It could be your cell phone. How much time? How many hours? I did a study on this before I was even in blockchain, when I was all about e-commerce. And it did a study of college women. And this was back in 2015, 14 or 15. I think 15. And that college women spent 8 to 12 hours in front of their phone screen. 8 to 12 hours a day. That was 2015. What do you think the number is right now? I think the better question is, how many hours do we spend not in front of a screen? If I look at myself, The only time I'm spending really not in front of a screen is when I'm sleeping. When I'm sleeping, I'm always in front of a screen. There's always a TV in the room. There's always my phone on me wherever I go. I'm on my laptop. If I'm traveling, even when I'm on my walks, I have my headphones on, I have my phone, and I'm still working. I may go for a 2-hour walk and I'm on my phone. I'm still looking at nature and everything. When I'm reading a book, I still got my phone and stuff with me. How many hours a day are you spent reading with no devices? And be honest with yourself. So I say that because I say that to prove he's wrong. The metaverse is just going to be another version that people's going to be using their social media from here to there. That's it. You guys might agree with him. I disagree. Okay. Financially, culturally, and political norms are changing. That is true. I could be wrong about all this. You are wrong about all this. We're in a period of great fluidity around norms. We see this in politics, where things that were previous unthinkable, got that right, are now being widely practiced. And I think we're seeing the same thing in investments. With cryptocurrency, what we would formerly have called stock manipulation is, in some sense, becoming part of a hype cycle. As a society, we're trying to figure out new norms. All right, well, that was a good article. I like to hear his point of view on this, but I see where he's coming at this from. He's a tech guy. He's only looking at the blockchain. He calls it evolutionary stage of the internet, whereas I'm looking at the revolutionary stage of finance. You understand the difference? Evolutionary stage, natural progression. I'm looking at the revolutionary stage, rebellion from 2008 financial crisis, from us seeing that the system doesn't work, from our US dollar losing 90% value over the last 60 years, from not being able to trust the government, from not having a livable wage. A revolution is upon us financially. The people are sick of it. And if you go back to the beginning of time, this has always happened. Money has always changed and transformed to something new. So that is why I don't agree with Tim, because I'm looking at it from a different standpoint. Does that mean he's ultimately wrong? No. I think the way we're looking at it, I see a 9 and he sees a 6. So if I stand on his side of the fence, it makes sense. But if he were to stand on my side of the fence, what I'm saying would make sense. I need to save this article because I'm going to be using this. And I think I'm going to do Web3 will be the last one I come out with. So I got to do IoT, I got to do DeFi, NFT, Metaverse, and then I'll do Web3. I think this is going to be fun. All right. That is it for Late Night Crypto Talk. I hope you guys learned something new. My crypto talks will be changing. In March, I will no longer be doing the vast majority of them like I am right now, open for anybody to listen. They will be in my ILCA platform only for VIP members and above. To be a VIP member, the cost is $97 one time. You have it for life. One time you have it for life. Next Tuesday, I start live classes from 8 to 10, but you have to be a student. You have to purchase the courses. The courses, if you're a VIP member, you get it for $9.97. And we've got the 5-day challenge coming up. 5-day challenge on ilcachallenge.com. If you have not registered yet, you can register for free. 5-day challenge. Then you can choose to upgrade to VIP for $97. If you are a prior student of mine and you have already bought my courses, whether it's from me directly or one of my clients, then I'm knocking that price in half. For $500, You're going to get access to all this. It's the new stuff that I'm creating, which is more than Bitcoin 101, advanced, and how to trade. Those are 45 videos. I'm making 60 more for $500. That's a hell of a bargain. You know what regular price is? $29.97 for people that do not go through the 5-day challenge. So being a part of our community, you get it at a discount. $9.97. So if you want to be a part of the classes that start next Tuesday, you got to make that purchase before then. $9.97. Knock that out. And you can make money as well. Last month, we had an individual make more than $1,400 just by sharing the 5-day challenge. And those that upgraded to the VIP, I paid them commission, a percentage of that. So this is an exciting time. I'm having a lot of fun with this. It's my passion. I think I got to take a break, eat some dinner, and then I'm going back into the lab and continuing building, finishing my courses up so that all of this stuff will be ready for you guys. So thank you for being on the journey with us. I hope you're learning something new and you find value in this. And if you do, share it with others. Share it with others. I will still do a public crypto talk maybe once or twice a week, but all of the rest is going to be just for the VIP members. So you want to be a VIP member. All right, everybody. Bitcoin Brandon out. Tomorrow I will be back for early morning crypto talk. Tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Streaming just like this. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.